If an officer ever leans in and says, "Do it," or things get worse, your heart rate spikes before your logic ever shows up. I've watched good law-abiding drivers freeze under pressure and hand over rights they never had to give away. Not because they were guilty, but because they didn't know where the law stops and intimidation begins. The road doesn't reward fairness, it rewards knowledge. And most people don't realize how many things police simply cannot do, no matter how serious their tone gets. Threats don't create authority, evidence does, procedure does, your consent does. You clicked because part of you already knows the system isn't always clean. Before we start, subscribe to Car Care Xpert, not for number, for protection. This channel exists to keep your wallet, your license, and your dignity intact. Watch till the end, because the last one is the trap that ruins more lives quietly than anything else on this list. Number 1, force you to consent to a search. An officer can ask to search your car, your pockets, your phone, but they cannot force consent. Consent must be voluntary, clear, and uncoerced. The moment a threat is involved, consent becomes legally questionable. I've seen drivers hand over keys just to get it over with, not realizing that fear isn't permission. Without probable cause or a warrant, a search depends on your yes. And I guess so, if you have to, or silence can be twisted into consent. That's why knowing how to calmly say, "I do not consent to any searches," changes the entire dynamic. It doesn't make you guilty, it makes you informed. Officers rely on uncertainty to move forward. When uncertainty disappears, so does their leverage. And when they can't search, the next pressure point usually becomes your words. Number 2, make you answer investigative questions. You must provide identification where required. You must comply with lawful orders, but you do not have to answer questions designed to build a case against you. Where are you coming from? Have you had anything to drink? Do you know why I stopped you? These aren't casual. They're probes. Anything you say can be used, even if you think you're being helpful. You're allowed to say, "I choose to remain silent," or "I'd like to speak with a lawyer." That's not disrespect, that's procedure. I've watched innocent drivers talk themselves into citations simply by trying to explain. The road doesn't reward honesty without strategy. It rewards restraint. And when they can't get you to talk, they often try to speed things up. Number 3, detain you without reasonable suspicion. Police can't hold you just because they feel like it. There must be specific, articulable facts that justify a stop or detention. "You look suspicious" isn't enough. A hunch isn't enough. Reasonable suspicion requires a real connection to a real law. If they can't articulate it, they can't legally keep you. You're allowed to ask, "Am I being detained or am I free to go?" If the answer is "you're free to go," the encounter is over. Most people don't ask because they're afraid. But fear is what keeps unlawful detentions alive. When you calmly force clarity, the power shifts. And when detention fails, the next tactic often targets your vehicle itself. Number 4, impound your car without legal grounds. Your car cannot be towed just because it's inconvenient or because an officer doesn't like your situation. Impoundment requires specific reasons: evidence in a crime, unsafe operation, lack of registration in some cases, not compliance, not attitude, not pressure. I've seen drivers lose their cars for days because they didn't challenge a tow they never deserved. Ask for the legal basis. Ask what statute applies. When there isn't one, the tow becomes vulnerable. Officers depend on drivers not knowing the difference, and when the car can't be touched, the pressure moves back to you. Number 5, use threats to manufacture compliance. "If you don't cooperate, I'll make this worse." That line sounds powerful, but legally it's empty. Threats don't create authority, they reveal weakness. Cooperation obtained by intimidation is shaky in court. You can comply with lawful orders while still refusing to waive your rights. Calm compliance with boundaries is your shield. You're not required to help build a case against yourself. Most people fold because they confuse obedience with surrender. You can be respectful and firm at the same time. And when threats don't work, they often try to blur your consent. Number 6, record you without justification in private spaces. In public, police can observe what's in plain view, but they cannot invade areas where you have a reasonable expectation of privacy without a warrant or exception. Your glove box, your trunk, your phone, those aren't public. I've seen drivers pressured to unlock devices just to clear things up. That's not procedure, that's phishing. Without your consent or a warrant, access is limited. Once you know that, you stop handing over your digital life under pressure. And when they can't see inside, they often try to rewrite the situation itself. Number 7, change their story to justify a stop. An officer must be able to clearly state why you were stopped. Not after the fact, not later. Not because now I see something. If the reason keeps shifting, the stop becomes unstable. I've watched cases collapse because the officer couldn't keep the narrative straight. Consistency is required. You're allowed to ask what the reason is, and you're allowed to remember it. When the reason evaporates, so does the stop. And when the stop fails, the next move often targets your patience. Number 8, keep you waiting indefinitely. A traffic stop is not an open-ended event. It must be reasonably brief and tied to its purpose. If you're pulled over for a taillight, the officer can't hold you for 30 minutes just to look for something else. Prolonged stops without new justification are illegal. You can ask, is there a reason this is taking so long? Calmly, professionally. Most drivers assume time doesn't matter. It does. And when the clock works in your favor, the leverage disappears. And when leverage disappears, they often try to escalate emotionally. Number 9, punish you for asserting your rights. Exercising your rights is not suspicious. It's protected. You can remain silent. You can refuse a search. You can ask for a lawyer. None of those actions create guilt. Retaliation for rights is unlawful. I've seen officers try to make things uncomfortable when drivers stand firm. But discomfort isn't legality, it's noise. When you know the difference, you don't flinch. And when they can't intimidate you legally, they often turn to paperwork games. Number 10, write citations without articulable facts. A ticket isn't valid because it's written. It's valid because it's supported. Every citation must tie to a specific law and a specific act. I think you were speeding isn't enough. It felt unsafe isn't enough. Facts must exist. I've seen countless tickets dismissed because the officer couldn't articulate the elements of the offense. You're not obligated to argue roadside. You just need to remember, paper doesn't equal proof. And when proof is missing, the case collapses. And when cases collapse, they often try one last emotional push. Number 11, lie about your legal obligations. You have to let me search. You must answer this. You're required to unlock your phone. None of that is automatically true. Officers are allowed to ask. They are not allowed to invent obligations. The law doesn't bend because someone sounds confident. I've watched drivers comply with imaginary rules because they didn't know the real ones. Confidence without accuracy is manipulation. When you learn your obligations, you stop mistaking tone for truth. And when tone fails, they often lean on urgency. Number 12, create urgency to rush your decisions. Do it now or else. Urgency is a tactic. It bypasses thinking. You're allowed to take a moment. You're allowed to clarify. You're allowed to understand what you're agreeing to. Quick decisions are how rights get lost. I've seen drivers sign forms, give statements, and consent to searches because they felt rushed. Pressure isn't law, it's strategy. When you slow down, the strategy falls apart. And when slowing down doesn't work, the final tactic is fear of consequences. Number 13, threaten consequences they can't legally enforce. I'll arrest you. I'll take your car. I'll make sure this goes bad for you. Those statements mean nothing without legal grounds. Consequences require cause, not attitude, not resistance, not silence. I've watched drivers comply out of fear of outcomes that never could have happened legally. Fear is powerful, but it's also inaccurate. When you know what police can and cannot do, fear loses its grip. And when fear disappears, so does their last card. Every driver I've met who truly understands these 13 points walks differently into a traffic stop. Not arrogant, not confrontational, just informed. Knowledge doesn't make you hostile. It makes you unmovable. Share it with someone you care about, because the road doesn't protect the unprepared, but knowledge does. This is Car Care Xpert. Drive smart, stay sharp, and never give away what the law already protects.